Welcome back to another episode of OTA Clips. March Madness is back in session, and so are we. That means I'm Griffin Senyek, joined by my co-host of Outside the Arena, Mac Rommel. And today we're going to be discussing the four games that went on. Obviously, Sweet 16 kicked off today, and some pretty big games, pretty important ones. Syracuse and Houston are in the middle of theirs. They're about at the half right now. So we won't be able to discuss how that one finishes. But for the other three games, we will be able to go in depth and really discuss these three. And we'll start with the upset of the day, Oregon State. Those Beavers, team that wouldn't have really gotten in the tournament if they didn't win their divisional tournament, the Pac-12. Obviously, the Pac-12 is I think it's like 12-1, or they're off the charts right now in terms of how they're playing. Maybe 9-1, something like that. But Oregon State beats Loyola Chicago. This one hurt, I know for sure. Was really a slop fest and a defensive, if you can call that, battle in the first. Only 40 combined points. Each team scored more than 40 points in the second half. So that was interesting. But the Beavers do beat the Ramblers 65-58. And I guess I'll start with you, Mac. I mean, what were your thoughts on this game? Obviously, Loyola Chicago heavily favored to win this game and also come out of that side of the bracket. A lot of people felt confident they'd be in the Final Four once again. Obviously, their run and their magic couldn't go as far this time. So, what were your thoughts on this one?
Yep, I mean Oregon State coming out and starting this game, they turned the ball over twice before getting a shot off. They went nearly 6.5 minutes before making their first field goal, and at one point they were 1 of 8 with 4 turnovers. So Oregon State really was not off to a good start. But then the Ramblers, who really failed to take advantage of defense, they proceeded to miss 11 straight shots. And then, right when that happened, Oregon State, they flip flop between man to man and zone defenses, and that's when they started to find their rhythm. For Oregon State, they were led by Ethan Thompson, who had 20 points and a pair of clinching foul shots with 35 seconds left. That ultimately was able to win them this game. Overtime, as I said, they were switching between man and man and zone defenses. The defense is really what came in clutch and won them this game. Loyola last week, who played perfectly against Illinois. They only shot 33% today from the field and were 5 of 23 behind beyond the arc. Cameron Krutwig led Loyola with 14 points, with Lucas Williamson and Braden Norris right behind him with 10, who both missed key three-pointers at the end of this game, which likely would have brought this game much closer, and it could have pulled a potential upset, or not a potential upset, but Loyola could have pulled out this win over Oregon State if both those players made some of those three-pointers at the end of this game.
Yeah, like you said, I mean, Loyola Chicago at the end of that game did. I apologize. Don't know if you can hear my dog barking, but can you hear that?
We heard one little bark. You can't really hear that.
Well, apologies for that, but yeah, Loyola Chicago. I mean, they had their chances, and they just couldn't capitalize. I mean, like you said, Brian Norris, he had that shot to make it a one-score game, missed that, and after that, that was over. I mean, tough way to end your Loyola career for guys like Cam Krutwig, Lucas Williamson. Those guys, historic careers there. Specifically Cam Krutwig. I mean, those two played big parts on the Loyola team that won the tournament or reached the Final Four a few years back. And Cam Krutwig, wasn't as efficient as he was against Illinois. 14 points, 10 boards. Probably need a little more out of him today. And off the bench, they only had 8 points. Never a good thing there. But on the flip side, Oregon State, I mean, Ethan Thompson really led this team today. He played so great, 22 points. And I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, this wasn't a game that was far fetching. Oregon State played a lot better off the bench in terms of those guys, but this really just came down to shooting the ball, and Oregon State just had a better day. Loyola was not efficient, particularly from the field, 33% on the day, 21% from three. I mean, they shot 23 threes, and they made 5. I mean, that just it's not going to win you a ball game at the end of the day when the stats like rebounds, turnovers are essentially the same. Oregon State, I mean, really good from the free throw line too, 18 of 20. I mean, that's something you got to make those shots, and that puts you ahead. I mean, if they shot worse today from the line, I mean, this could be Loyal's game. But at the end of the day, Oregon State just shot better. Star play from Ethan Thompson. He's been so good for them. And Loyola Chicago just couldn't get it going in terms of some of their guys, and they couldn't hit the big shots when they mattered. 3-point shooting was a mess all day. So tough way to go out. But the Ramblers sure is sure as heck needed to play a lot better than win that one, and definitely not what they wanted, not what they expected after that Illinois win. I don't know if they got complacent or what happened, but maybe it just wasn't their day.
Yep, and up next for Oregon State, it's going to be Syracuse or Houston, depending on the outcome of this game. Of course, right now Houston, which is probably gonna this is probably
Ooh,
gonna be the
Houston pulled away. Yeah.
up 30-20 over Syracuse right now. It's been a little bit of a up and down battle for Syracuse so far. So we're gonna see how that plays out. But Oregon State will be playing the winner of that game. And as you said, you're not going to win games if you don't shoot well from three. But it really wasn't the case for that for this team in Baylor when they were playing Villanova, who obviously won 62-51. And really for Baylor, this game was won with defense and with their points in the paint. Of course, in the first half, they struggled to shoot outside and beyond the arc. And Adam Flagler was Baylor's leading scorer today with 16. And Baylor, which is really the nation's best three-point shooting team, they only made three threes tonight out of 19 shots, excuse me. And Davion Mitchell, who's normally a 46% three-point shooter, that's his average for the year. He went over 3 from 3 today, but he did have 14 points. And Jared Butler went 1 for 9 from 3. So honestly, today was not the day for Baylor when it comes to shooting threes. But even though the team only made one three-pointer in that second half, they realized their struggles going into halftime. And that's when they started to pick things up. They went in the paint, and that's where they started to get their points from. And they ended up shooting 53% in that second half. And really, midway into that second half, I mean, Villanova was really close with Baylor, but Baylor, they started to pull away with a 14-2 run. That's really when Baylor started to take the lead here, and was ultimately the run that won them this game. Baylor in the second, they held Villanova to only shooting 37.5%. They were 0 for 9 from 3. So obviously, both teams struggled to shoot from 3, but Baylor was able to realize their struggles and execute when it came to time to shoot inside of the paint.
Yeah, I love your passion about your Baylor Bears, and you know everything about them. Um, my dog, you
We're
heard
here
that
tonight.
one for sure. Yeah, she's not happy to be out of the crate, but yeah, at the end of the day, it was a weird game. I mean, like you said, Baylor came out and they were looking terrible. I mean, they were down 7 at the half. Very slow start for them. They weren't hitting their shots, and in particular, like you mentioned, 3-point shooting, 3 for 19. It's very unlike that Baylor team. So you think this might be they might have survived. They overcame the storm or whatnot of their potential worst shooting game in the tournament. Obviously, they did end up shooting 44% from the field. But that 3-point shooting, like you said, it was just a non-factor. 3 for 19, no one was in their shots. Lucky for them, though, Villanova on the same side, 3 for 17 from 3. So 3-pointers really weren't a factor for either team, and I think that played to the advantage of Baylor here because overall they're just a more efficient team from the field. And like you said, that Baylor defense really put apart. I mean, 7 more steals than Villanova, 10 less turnovers. Villanova had 16 to Baylor's 6. That's the key here. Baylor was not turning over the ball, and although they were shooting bad, they weren't turning the ball over. And unlike Villanova, who was kind of a mess in terms of turning the ball over, especially specifically in that second half. I mean, you lose a half by near 20 points, you know something went wrong. So Baylor was able to step it up. They made their adjustments at halftime. Villanova didn't, and tough way to go out for them. Obviously, they've dealt with injuries all year potentially, and not the best situation. But they did make Sweet 16. Nothing to be upset about. But good play from them, and we'll see what's next for them. But obviously, the Baylor Bears now set to face off against the Arkansas Razorbacks. And oh my goodness, this game was a really good game. Oral Roberts once again. I mean, this team came down to the buzzer. I mean, and Admus, however you pronounce his name. I thought it was Admus, and then they start saying like Asmus, and I'm like, what? Or Amos, and I'm like, what is going on?
We'll just
That kid he's legit. I mean, 25 points from him. He obviously tough contested shot did not go in to end the game, but Oral Roberts loses to the Razorbacks 72-70 in the favor of the Razorbacks. Jalen Tate really was the star player for Arkansas here. He had 22 points, and this guy just became unconscious in the last late in the second half. He didn't miss, and that was the key for the Razorbacks. And Razorbacks, really tough game for them. They've had a lot of close games so far in this tournament to come down in the last second, but they've been able to pull through. And what are your thoughts on this one? Obviously, Oral Roberts, historic run. Only 2 teams have ever done what they've done, so gotta be it's very impressive what they've done.
Or Roberts, I mean, they put up a fight. The teams that they have beaten thus far, and they almost come and they almost make the Elite Eight. Buzzer beater. That's all it took. They missed it. It was close, but that's all they needed to make the Elite Eight. But ultimately, Arkansas, I believe it's the first time in 26 years that they're advancing into the Elite Eight. And Devontae David with that jumper with
Yes.
2.9 or something seconds left to win them this game. I mean, that's how you want to win a game. Of course, Oral Roberts, as I said, they almost came back, almost made that buzzer beater, but ultimately Arkansas won this game. But for most of this game, Arkansas shot poorly and had bad defense, and even got down to a point when they were down 12 points. Oral Roberts really had control of this game for most of the game, but ultimately they ended up falling behind. They started shooting poorly in that second half towards the middle of it, and that's when Arkansas really was able to take advantage. The Razorbacks, they were turning stops to offensive opportunities, but most importantly, they're turning those offensive opportunities into offensive rebounds, and that's ultimately where they won this game. They out rebounded Oral Roberts offensively by a lot. I'm not sure the exact amount. I believe
I think it was like, I mean,
18.
total rebounds was 46-35, but
Uh,
offensive
offense.
18-6.
Yep. So obviously, Arkansas, they were taking advantage offensively at the rim, turning those rebounds into points, and that's really where Arkansas started to take away and win this game. And as I said, Oral Roberts seemed to have won this game for most of the game until that second half. They shot terribly and were giving the ball away too many times. And as you said, that boy, that bad man, Max Admis, whatever, however you pronounce it, he really did his best to send Oral Roberts to the Elite Eight with 25 points, as you mentioned. But that last second buzzer beater shot that bounced off the rim really would have been an amazing story if he somehow made that Max I miss, A miss, whatever it is. That would have been a story. In the first half, Arkansas, they struggled shooting from three. They were 1 for 7, but ultimately in the end of this game, they came out and they started shooting great in that second half. And ultimately, they won this game, and they're going to be playing those Baylor Bears up next.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It was in the basketballs today, but the 3-point shooting was it was a mess all around the board today. You know, and with Oral Roberts, I mean, this team is built off their shooting. That's how they've beaten all these teams. They've shot the ball super effectively, and overall 42% from the field. But 25% from three, and 77% from the line for them. That's kind of uncharacteristic. You normally see higher than them. And for Arkansas to outshoot them from the free throw line, that's the key here. I mean, Arkansas. They had nothing going from three, from deep. Their rebounding was the key, and you got to give credit to Justin Smith, the big man. He had 14 rebounds. Even Devontae Davis, like you said, he had that huge shot. He also rebounded the ball 8 times. I mean, that was the key for them, just out rebounding, getting more shots. I mean, they attempted 16 more total shots. I mean, that just shows you they had more opportunities than Oral Roberts. And for Oral Roberts, I mean, I've said this in the last post game breakdown for Oral Roberts. The key for them is keeping Kevin Obenar and Max Obmas hot. Max Obmas stayed hot, 25 points. But to me, Kevin Obenar, he just didn't. It's not his fault. He was effective from the field. He made most of his shots, but he just didn't get enough of them. And he did have some big opportunities down the line. Had some 3-pointers and that didn't go in. And that's the key. Kevin Obenar has been one of the best players in the tournament. He's been scoring 20 plus. And for me, he wasn't particularly effective. A guy who looked like was going to replace him in terms of efficiency was Carlos Jurgens in the first half. I believe like 11 points or something like that.
Yeah.
And then he fell asleep in the second half. I mean, that was the key here. He didn't, if he stays hot, this team wins the game. They need that second star on this. It just seems so consistent. That kid is legit. I don't know what's next for him. I don't believe he's a senior. So will he come back? I don't think he'll declare for the draft. I don't see that likely. I don't think he's pro ready per se, or league ready. But he's legit. He's such a good scorer. He can pull it from anywhere. Kevin Obenar is good. He's legit. But when Kevin Obenar is not getting the shots, and a guy like Carlos Jurgens, he's got to be making them. In the second half, he was unable to continue that, and that's why we saw Oral Roberts get outscored by 9. And their defense also started to collapse in that second half. It really wasn't going to be efficient. Arkansas, just in the interior and the paint, just started to dominate. And, that was the thing for them. I mean, you see Moses Moody played a pretty efficient game, 14 points. I mean, he had no assists, but Jalen Tate was the key. No one on that team could guard Jalen Tate. And, those guards, the 3 guards, and Moody, Tate, and Davis, I mean, they just started to give Oral Roberts problems. You obviously have some good guards on Oral Roberts, but at the end of the day, they can't really guard that big three that Arkansas has that makes them so efficient, so dominant. Those three guys are studs, and Justin Smith, obviously. So overall, Arkansas, I mean, they survived the scare. And Oral Roberts, I wouldn't look at this game for Arkansas as something that, oh my God, like this is, the Baylor Bears are going to come in and wipe the floor. I mean, Oral Roberts was a competitive team. Obviously, you look at this for both the Baylor Bears and Arkansas, they potentially got their worst shooting games of the tournament out of the way. Neither of them were efficient from three at all. So, hopefully we'll see a better shooting game from these teams. We'll see what happens. Obviously, Baylor Bears, Arkansas Razorbacks will play on what's today, Saturday, so they'll play Monday. Big game, Elite Eight, winner goes to the Final Four. Both of us have a lot riding on it. I know you're Baylor Bears, and then obviously I got the Arkansas Razorbacks winning in one of my brackets. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I don't know if you want to touch on the Syracuse game real quick before we wrap this up, or what you want to do. But
man, we can pull it up. I mean, Syracuse. I mean, we keep talking about these teams shooting poorly. Syracuse, they come out and right away they were shooting poorly. I don't know how many shots it was that they missed coming out the gate, but right now they're 25% shooting, 6 for 24. Oh, and also the score still 30-20. Houston is obviously up. So you're looking at really just the shooting. They're 1 for 10 from three. They are not shooting well, but you're looking at the free throws. I mean, they've had 9 shots from the line, and that's compared to Houston. They've only had 1. So I think that's where Syracuse is going to have to try and take advantage in the second half. Could they keep scoring points off of these free throws? And you got to keep Houston limited. You can't send them to the line because they've obviously been shooting a little bit better than the Oranges have thus far. But otherwise, you're looking down at the stats. I mean, turnovers kind of similar: 5 for Syracuse, 3 for Houston. Fouls: 8 for Houston, 6 for Syracuse. But right now, it's just been a poor shooting game for Syracuse, and I think that's why Houston's taking advantage right now. You're also looking; they have 11 more shots than Syracuse, so that's obviously going to play a big factor in who wins this game.
yeah, but I mean, Syracuse is just 1 for 10 from three. That's kind of their bread and butter. They need to be shooting the ball around. I think similar to that West Virginia game, a guy like Buddy Boeheim, who only has 6 points right now, he's got to turn it on in the second half. We obviously saw him do that against West Virginia. I mean, I think he had like 22 points in that second half. So, that's going to be the key for him. You play through your best player, and that's Buddy Boeheim, and he's going to have to play well. He's obviously the leading scorer right now. Some of those other guys, Joseph Garrard, not really doing much, but Syracuse is just not shooting the ball. They're not effective. I mean, 25% from the field. They've made 6 shots on the day. That's kind of unacceptable. Offensive rebounds, Houston's getting way more shots. I mean, the game really started. The first thing, Houston's just getting the ball. I mean, obviously, some of those were just lucky bounces to Houston, but at the end of the day, Houston seems like they're playing pretty solid. I mean, Houston's not playing anything spectacular. I mean, they're shooting 30% from three, 34% from the field. But at the end of the day, they're just getting more chances there, and they're being more effective than Syracuse right now. And Mark Sasser playing really well. Quentin Grimes probably wants to step it up a little bit. 6 points and a half. He's obviously probably their best player in the conference. Won that award this year for them. So Houston, overall good team. They obviously had that scare for Rutgers. Up 10 though. Key for Syracuse, get guys like Buddy Boeheim going, and the 3-point shot is going to have to start falling down 10. You're going to have to make up that deficit pretty quick. You don't want to be down. You don't want it to get any larger than that. Let's just say for the Oranges, they really got to start making their comeback right away.
Yep, Buddy Boeheim, as you said, he's going to be a player to look out for. Especially, isn't his father the coach too?
Yeah.
Coach, yeah. So you got to get him involved, and I have no doubts if his father's the coach, he's got to get involved. Best player with the father. It's the connection that has to get started in this second half if the Oranges want to make this comeback after being down 10 at the half. So the Oranges, let's see what they could do in the second half. I mean, we'll probably touch on it a little bit tomorrow. But with that, I mean, should we wrap this thing up?
Yeah, that's kind of does it for today. Good first day of the Sweet 16. Good to be doing some daily uploads again. If you haven't already, go check out. We did an NBA trade deadline update. I know it's a few days ago, but still, go check it out. Go support the channel, like it up, subscribe. You know the whole deal.
You know it. Like, comment, subscribe, not only on this channel, but on our main channel outside the arena. And also make sure to go follow us and subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. It's also outside.
We need
the
those
arena.
subscribers up, guys. We do. Those are the analytics are not, I mean, we're getting some downloads, but the analytics, just make sure to follow. I don't know if you can subscribe, but just follow. We really appreciate it.
Yep, we would. Anything helps. And also, please feel free to reach out to us. I mean, our Instagram is probably the best place. So my Instagram is mac.rommel. Griffin's Instagram is,
Griffin Senyek.
and our podcast Instagram is Outside the Arena Podcast. So please feel free to reach out to us there if you just want to talk, if you want to come on, because I know Griffin and I would love to have some of you guys on here and talk some basketball and March Madness with us. No matter what it is, we'd love to keep in contact with you guys. So please feel free to reach out. But as always, stay safe, and we will see you all tomorrow.